I'd like to start by discussing being born into this world. Each one of us is born, and each one of us dies. This is something we are guaranteed in life, because we are all living creatures. When we're born, we're forced into something that we have no say over. From the moment we exit the womb, we are given a number. At the hospital, actually, we're given a number. And this number is to identify us for the rest of our lives. It also coincides with our birth date. And this number is used by the government, obviously, to track you for your whole life. They'll want to know your bank accounts. They can get a lot of information from you, and they can keep track of you. But we're basically born into something that we have no say over. We have to get a job. We have to work. We have to pay our taxes. We have to have a number. You know what I mean? And that's what troubles me. We are raised in a certain way because the higher powers like the government and religion, the churches, basically the people that have been controlling this hidden knowledge for centuries are trying to hide it from us. And they use means of media to hide this. They use means of, deception. They lie. They control us with money and banks. Banks are a very recent thing. They've only been in existence for the last 100 years. Banks, why do we need money to survive? Because that's the way we're brought up. By the time we're born and we come out of the womb, it's what we know, it's what we see. It's just there. And this has continued for so many years that we think it's normal now. We're all born into this, thinking that this is the way that it is, this is the way we have to live. But do we really have to live like this? That's my question. And I ask myself every fucking day of my life, do we have to live like this?
Barack is like the manager of Burger King. All presidents are, including Bush. It's like this: when your fries are cold, if your burger is not done right, you go back to Burger King, America, or your government, and you say, my burger's cold, I want new fries. First, you go to the cashier, that's the courts. You argue to the courts. The courts, if you can't get no justice with the cashier, you say, let me see the manager. I want to go to the Supreme Court. I want to see the president. The manager comes out. Hi, what can I do for you? Now the manager can override the decisions of the cashier, but you never get to see the franchise owner of Burger King. If you really have a problem with your burger, you need to go see the franchise owner. We need to go to the top or to the bottom. We need to go to where the real architecture of government is. And it's not in a president. It's in a global scheme.
Politics in America today is identical to pro wrestling. And what I mean by that is, in front of the cameras and the public, we all hate each other. I'm going to kick my opponent's butt. I'm going to whale him from here to high water and beat the crap out of him. Yet behind the scenes, we all are friends going out to dinner.
Went to dinner together.
And it's all a work.
All intermarried.
Show business.
It's showbiz. And that's what you have today in politics. The Democrats and Republicans aren't really opposed to each other.
The only thing that really matters is yourself and your own spirit and your own happiness. You have one life. We're born and we die. And in that life, we must complete our goal as a human being, or our specific duty to leave our legacy on the earth, or to leave our mark on the earth. We are all here for a reason. Whether we know it or not, we are all here for a reason. And we must learn this reason and harvest it and become the best we can at it. But at the same time, we're forced to perhaps diminish these skills and abilities for the greater good of society, as they say. I see a great revolt happening in the next year or so. Perhaps it's linked with 2012, but definitely there's going to be a big revolt, and people are starting to realize a lot of things aren't what they seem. And once you realize this, once you realize that life is much more than what you're living, it's much more than working, it's much more than, you know, sitting in front of the TV when you get home from work, watching the news, seeing what's happening. Life is entirely what you make it. So really, we shouldn't be restricted by these restraints that have been put on us since the beginning of humanity almost. I'd like to talk about a theory I have in regards to 2012 and the greater consciousness and awakening process that is linked with it. Many researchers and scholars believe, just as the Mayans predicted, that at the end of their Mesoamerican long count calendar, the human race would go through a certain awakening period. Essentially, the mind's eye would open and the human race as a whole would achieve greater spirituality amongst themselves and the consciousness aspect of that. Essentially, it would be an esoteric awakening. I believe that 2012 is already happening. I believe it's been happening for several years. I believe it's been leading up, and a lot of people know about this. There's secret knowledge, and Masons and the Illuminati and the New World Order definitely know about all this stuff, and that's why they keep their knowledge secret. We're learning about science. We're learning more about different things that we thought might have been absurd maybe 25 years ago. But it's reality. It's all reality. And we have to start thinking logically, more straightforward. We have to start thinking for ourselves and helping each other out.
George W. Bush, who had claimed to be a conservative, had tripled the size of the federal government, shredded the Constitution, and destroyed the image of the United States worldwide.
Nope, no weapons over there.
Endless wars, over 1 million dead Iraqis, and more than 5,000 dead U.S. troops. The Patriot Act, warrantless domestic wiretapping and spying, the end of posse comitatus, the rise of the treasonous North American Union, a deepening recession sliding towards total economic collapse.
Well, it's actually an interesting question. First of all, money is prior to money. It's going to sound like a long answer, but I'm not quite sure I know the nature of your question. But let me see how I can handle it. Thank you. Prior to money, essentially trade.